All right, so we're gonna paint the rocket ship. Bear with me, this is the first time doing a step-by-step tutorial that wasn't just a time lapse. Step one, we are going to be using our blue paint. I don't know if you can see, there we go, blue paint. We're gonna paint the background. So I'm just gonna scoop out a little bit of the blue onto my mixing plate. Maybe like that. You see, blue. I'm gonna clean my brush because I want to scoop out a little bit of white too to mix in with that, and I don't want my dirty brush to ruin my whole little cup of white. Okay, so here's some white. Scoop out a little bit of that. Don't need much. It's a little bit on your brush. Let's stir that in. And then I'm just gonna go through and paint my whole background. I'm gonna probably switch to a bigger brush because this is gonna take me a very long time. Bigger brush. I'm just gonna go all the way around the outside of the little rocket ship. Get all that canvas covered. So while I'm working, there are some streaks being left behind because of the brush. To help minimize those, you can add a little bit more white as you work. So I'm gonna scoop out just some white onto my plate. Oops, I changed it. All right, so there's just some white on my plate. And as I work, I'll just take my dirty brush. I'm just gonna scoop it into a little bit of my white. And it's gonna lighten it up some, but that's all right. But you see how now my streaks seem more intentional and not just sloppy. And I'll keep working it till the strokes look a little bit nicer. If you do just nice long strokes, you'll have a smoother finish. Because anytime you like lift up your brush and put it down, it will leave a mark. So if you can go all the way edge to edge, you'll have a much smoother painting. I'm just gonna continue on. Maybe a little bit more white over here. So I started mostly at the top of my painting because towards the bottom, I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. And if you've already painted towards the bottom, that's fine. You can still make it darker. I'm gonna need to get a smaller brush for inside those little exhaust pipe things. Alright, so I've got the majority of this filled in. So down towards this bottom area, I want the color blue to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to take a little bit of red. I'm going to scoop it out using my smaller brush, cleaned out. Just a little bit. And if you mix this little bit of red in with your blue, it's gonna darken it. It's gonna kind of make it a little bit purpley. If you have a lot of red added in, it will be more so purple. That's all right. And I'm just gonna kind of brush this on towards the bottom. So I'm not being super neat right now. I'm just getting the paint on the canvas. I can spread it out and make it look better here in a minute. I'm blending that right up into that lighter blue color. I'm going to use my bigger brush to help spread it around. And I'm just going to push it up in to what I've already painted. And just back and forth until it kind of smushes in with that lighter color. I'm not being super tidy on my edges. When we paint the rocket ship, we can kind of go over that and clean it up so it's not so messy. All right. Pretty well good there. I like it. Okay. So, I've got that all done. And I'm going to give it a little bit of time to dry because I'm going to be painting white on my ship. And I don't want to like grab wet paint from the edges and get it mixed in with that, because then it will be a light blue rocket ship, which again, not a big deal. I'm gonna blow it dry, maybe. So I work fairly quickly. I know not everybody does. So video is nice because you can pause it and I can keep going. So next, I'm gonna work on the ship. I'm going to be using white paint. Sorry. I'm cleaning out my brush real good. I'll just kind of dry it on my towel. And I'm going to need white paint, so I'm going to just take a little scoop of white paint out of my cup. And I'm going to paint the whole body of this. I'm not going to worry about the little, whatever they are, little fin things. I'm just going to get my ship painted white. I'm also going to do these exhaust thingies. There we go. Good enough. Clean out my brush. So that was just plain white paint. Next, I'm going to do these little fins red, just plain red out of my cup. I'll just take a little scoop. Don't need a bunch. And I'm gonna try to take my time here and make these look nice. It's easier if your canvas is flat on the table, but I cannot make a video if you can't see what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of overlapping a little just so that my line's smooth. It's alright, you see the dark blue behind, that's fine. You don't have to be perfect. should probably be using a smaller brush. Alright, so we got that. Now I am going to add a cone tip with the red, and it's just kind of a curved line, and I'm going to fill in the whole top red of my rocket ship. And you paint right over that white. If it's still a little bit wet, it's going to kind of turn pink. It's alright. Once it dries, you just go back over it again with red and it'll be nice and bright again. Alright. Now I'm going to add some gray pieces. And I already have a little white on my plate. And to make gray, I'm just going to take just a tiny touch of black. I'm using a smaller brush, and I'm going to mix it in slowly into my white because I want a lightish gray. I don't want it super dark, kind of in between a light gray and medium gray. So that looks pretty good to me. Alright, so now I'm going to put a band. So it's just going to follow this line on the edge of my cone and put a little gray band like so. And then down here I'm going to put another band. I'm going to go right where my fins attach to the body, and then kind of curve the line a little bit. All right, and again with the gray, I'm gonna put a band where the exhaust kind of attaches to the body of the ship. And on the bottoms of my exhaust, a little band. I'm going to switch brushes, and I'm going to put a little window in. And this, I'm going to use blue, but it's going to be a very, very light blue. So I have a little bit of my background color there and some white. So I'm just going to take just the tiniest little bit of my background color blue and mix it in with a lot of white so it's very pale. So it's just a tint of blue. And I'm going to put a little window, just a circle, right about there. So it's kind of lined up with where my fins are, the top of the circle. Now I can go back to my light gray color and my smaller brush, and I'm gonna put a gray outline around the outside edge of my circle. Ta-da! Next step, I'm going to add some red stripes down here to make it a little more interesting. So I have red on my plate. I'm going to use my smaller brush. And I'm going to have 3 stripes. So I'm going to have a center stripe that's red, and then 2 side stripes that are red. And then the in-between space, we're just going to leave white. So So I'm gonna I'll start with my middle. And I'm gonna do these kind of at an angle. So it's not just my line slants in towards each other, just a smidge. And I'm gonna fill this shape in. Try to make it look a little nicer. And then I'm gonna leave a little space of white. And come down, and I'm gonna fill in right to the edge of my ship. I'm kind of painting sideways, so it's kind of awkward for my hand, but I'm working it. So I've got that side. I'm going to do the exact same thing to this side. Leave a space of white, and then just fill in red to the edge. And you can go back in and give it another coat if you like, because it is a little streaky and kind of reads as pink, because a lot of the white still shows through. So when it's dry, like up here where we painted earlier, that's dry. I can hit that again with some red and see how much more vivid that color becomes. Well, it does to me. I don't know if it does transfers into the video, but it does look better with a second quick coat. Since I've already got the red on my brush, might as well go in and do that now. This might be dry enough. Now I'm gonna go in and just kind of touch up here where my overlap, where I was kind of sloppy with my background. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more white and just try to clean up those edges. It's not gonna cover that blue perfect, but it's gonna help. Oops, got a little out of control there. All right, I gotta touch up my gray. I got a little wild. And you can go in and touch up your other areas of gray too if they need it. Okay. So, rocket ship complete. We are now gonna add some like exhaust trails. So background color, to make that again, if you're out, you're gonna take a little bit of your blue. Clean out your brush before you go dipping it in your white. Or if you don't want to just be working out of the containers, you could just add small amounts of all the colors on your plate and just work off your plate. That's actually probably easier. Okay. So a little bit of white stirred in. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter than what I started with. So if you see, this color is about the same shade as what I have up here. And granted, yes, it will show up down here on top of that darker blue, but I want it significantly lighter. So I'm just going to stir in a couple little scoops of white just to lighten that up. And I'm going to paint trails coming off of my exhaust. So I have, and they're kind of going to be angled outward. So there's my first one. And I'm just going to fill that in. So if you notice where it comes out of the exhaust, it kind of gets wider as it goes downward. I'm going to do the same with this one. And just get that filled in. And again with my third. I'm gonna scooch it out of my easel real quick. So now we have trails. So it looks like smoke or steam or whatever exhaust is coming out of the spaceship. I got this all wonky. All right. So now we get to work on our outer space area, the background. So we're gonna put in planets and stars. So first I'm going to paint all of those objects with white paint. This way, when we put our pretty bright colors on top, they'll show up. If we just painted our bright colors, it's gonna take on the color of the background. So if we use white first, it will basically prime the canvas again, back to like where it started. It originally was white. That's how all these colors show up so nice. So I'm just gonna put a planet here, and it's just a circle. So I'm going to paint in a white circle there. Don't worry, these aren't going to stay white. We are going to paint on top of them when they're dry, the colors we want. So how about put a little planet here, another circle. And I'm gonna put a big one up here. And this one I'm gonna add a ring to, like Saturn. So you can just put your, it's like a long flat oval shape. And then just fill it in. Probably taper that off a little bit. So there's my planets. You can add more if you want. It does not have to be just like mine. You can be as creative as you like. I do want to put stars in though. So if you want more planets and you want stars, just keep in mind you need to leave some room. So I'm gonna put 3 or 4 stars in, and to do stars, I'm gonna put them in, how about one here? So I'm gonna paint them, so if you're a teacher and you were grading a paper, you're gonna make your star like that, and then you can just fill it in. If you try to make your star shape by just doing the outside lines, it's super hard. But since we're filling these in, we can cheat and do it the easy way. I'm gonna put one in here. Maybe a little bit bigger. And then fill that in. about here we get one? I'll put in one more. Maybe a little guy right in here. Fabulous. So I'm gonna also put in just some little white dots. It's like tiny little stars off in the distance. And I'm just gonna dab my brush on. And you can put these all over. I like it. I'm gonna do another coat of white on my planets because I can still see a lot of blue showing through, and that's gonna show through into my colors when I layer on top to make them pretty. So this will just help block that blue from coming through. And real quick again on the stars. Try not to put my hand on wet paint. And I'm just using a little bit of paint. So if you use a bunch, you're gonna have big, thick globs. You wanna use as little as possible and just get it spread out. You can always add more on, but if you start with a big old glob, you really kind of have nowhere to put it. And you're gonna have those like ridge lines from your brush. And those take a long time to dry, and they just don't look that nice. So just little bits of paint at a time. You can always add more, but it's hard to get rid of a lot. Alrighty, I like it. So now comes the fun part. You get to pick the colors of your planets. You do not have to do what I do. I will be showing you how to make different colors though. So my stars, I'm gonna pretty much do all a yellow color. So I'm not gonna paint my planets yellow just because I'm already gonna have yellow stars. So I'm gonna save my yellow for them and pick different colors for my planets. How about a green? So I have this yellow color. To make green, you're gonna use yellow and blue. I'll take a little scoop of my blue. And the blue is really strong, so you need less blue than you do yellow. I'm just gonna stir it together, and I have a green. And I want that a little bit lighter, because that's kind of murky. I can brighten it up by just adding a touch of white. So a little scoop of white. And there I have a nice green. I might even add a touch more yellow to that. All right, so one of my planets is going to be this murky green. I'll start with this one. So I'm just simple coat of green. I'll do a purple planet. So purple, to make purple, you're gonna use blue, scoop of blue, and I already have some red on my plate. So blue and red, stirred together. You're gonna make this dark purpley color. I want it lighter than that. So again, I'm just gonna take a little scoop of white and stir it in. I'm gonna do my big planet this purple color. So if you were to add, this is very blue, very bluish purple. If you want more of a pinkish purple, more red on the red side, you would just add more red into your mix. So if I wanted to make that purple a little bit more on the end of like magenta, I'm just gonna stir in more red. And I'll paint right over it to show you. And then maybe a little bit more white just so I can see it better. More red. So this is purple, but it's a little bit more red mixed in. I mean, you can make so many different shades of purple. And you see the difference, how it's got a little bit more of a pinkish hue to it. This shows up a little bit better on my blue. I'm gonna do my ring. And I'll go back in later to make that ring really stand out by painting it a different color. But right now I'm just gonna paint the whole thing the same color. So this one I'm gonna make orange. To make orange, it's yellow and red. So a little bit of red, put that on my plate, clean out my brush, and yellow. Scoop up some yellow. I'm gonna stir that in, and I have like this red-orange color. So I'm gonna add more yellow. It's not quite orange yet. Okay, that's better. I'm gonna add a touch of white to it. I got blue on there. Touch of white. It'll show up better. I'm gonna fill this guy in. Now I'm gonna go and paint all my stars. And I'm just gonna use this yellow and go right on top of my white. Now I can go back in, now that this is fairly dry. It's not perfectly dry, but that's okay. I'm gonna make a brighter shade of purple. I need red, so I'm gonna have the same purple that I just used. I'm gonna add quite a bit of red to it. And some more white, quite a bit of white. And this is the color I'm gonna put on the ring. So I'm just gonna sketch it on, come around. And there you have it. So if you need to, you can go back in and put another coat on your planets because they're a little thin. I can add another coat of my green. So I can still see some white showing through. Let's hit them again so that's a little bit more solid. I could do the same to my orangey color. And then also with your stars. Yellow, I need yellow. There we go. And that is it. If you have other areas that you want to go back in and touch up, feel free. I think down here, my little exhaust pipes probably could use a little bit more white on them. I'm not a huge fan of how my background blue that I overlapped is coming through. I kind of want to block that out a little bit better. Maybe some paint on my brush would be helpful. Yep, that's a little better. There. Awesome. Now that I'm finished, I can go ahead and sign my name. I'll just pick a color, maybe a light blue, because I'm going to sign down here. So I have my blue color that I used. I'll just lighten it up a little with some white. I like to thin out my paint with a little water for when I sign my name. A little more flow to the paint, and I can get it in one swoop. I don't have to go back for more paint. This is kind of awkward, but I'm just gonna sign my name right there, and then I'm done. I hope you enjoyed doing your painting. I would love to see your finished works if you could be so kind as to take photos and tag Willy-Nilly on Facebook. That'd be awesome. Yeah, all right. I see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.